Hello and welcome back to Darren Ridge Laughing Gardener and the Growing Challenge. And today we're finally going to get around to planting potatoes, aren't we, Bear? Bear wants to plant potatoes, so we're going to do it today, folks. So 3 weeks ago I asked you to take one of these, pop into an egg box and put onto a sunny windowsill and just let them chit. Now my egg box was sitting on my loo windowsill, and effectively after 3 weeks of sitting just on a sunny windowsill, this is what we've got, folks. We've got these lovely chitted potatoes, look. So they're around about ½ an inch to an inch long. An inch long would be better, but effectively we've got those ready to go now. Now the advantage of chitting, as we said in the last video dealing with potatoes, is you're now 3 weeks along the growing process. So today we're going to pop these into containers. So if you've got limited space, want to grow potatoes, then you can grow in pots and a whole range of containers. So let's just start with the materials that you'll actually need to carry out the planting of your potatoes. You will need a pot. So first of all, I've got a 30-litre pot. It's a pretty big pot. I just happen to landscape and garden design, so I have the ability of accessing pots for free, really. Well, they have been bought but along with the shrubs that have been bought, but I tend to take these away because they're a nice decent pot to actually grow in. But if you haven't got those, and you haven't got the availability of those, how about growing in an Ikea bag? And I'm going to grow some in an Ikea bag. They're wonderful. You just need to pop some holes in the bottom, make sure there's got good drainage. If you haven't got an Ikea bag, a bag for life again is a great thing to have. Just again make sure there's holes in the bottom and you can grow in a bag for life. Or if you've got a bucket or a container like that, again you just need to make sure that there's good drainage and you'll grow potatoes. So you're going to need some compost, and some good compost, and here we have it, some lovely compost to pop your potatoes in. You're going to need some fish blood and bone. I've got some there. And then finally you're going to need a label. And what you need to drop on your label, folks, and I'll get Charlotte to come in and just look at this, it's just the date. You don't need the year because these are not going to be in more than a few months. And then the actual name of the potato, which is Rocket. So I'm doing Rocket at this particular point in time. And there you go, you've got everything that you need to grow potatoes. Now just before we move into the actual process, for potatoes it's all about space. So you're going to be surprised as to the amount of potatoes I actually put into a 30-litre bucket. If you put more potatoes than I'm going to recommend in there, you'll get smaller potatoes out or hardly any potatoes at all, okay? So we're just going to drop 2 potatoes into the 30-litre bucket that I've actually got. And then I'm going to put 3 into the Ikea bag. And then we'll wait 90 days before we actually harvest. And that's really important why you need to label and date the actual time that you pop your potatoes into your pot. So let's make a start. Enough waffle. We're going to get down on my knees and effectively start to fill our bucket. So the first thing that we need to do is to actually quarter fill the bottom of the bucket. So here's my potatoes. I'm going to drop those on one side, and I'm going to get down and I'm going to take this bucket and I'm just going to quarter fill it, folks. So just drop it in there. If this is out of a new bag of compost, then you might just have to break it up, okay? But get in there and quarter fill that bucket. Now potatoes are a hungry crop, so once it's quarter filled, the next thing that we're going to do, guys, is put some fish blood and bone into it. So we're just going to take a handful of fish blood and bone, sprinkle it in there, and that will give your potatoes enough food to actually feed themselves for the time that they're in. Once you've got it in there, give it a good mix through. So make sure that it's really well mixed in there, folks. And then just flatten it out once again, as you did to begin with. And then take 2 of the seed potatoes. And remember, eyes upwards. and try not to damage the eyes as you pop them into the pot. If you've done all this work to get these potatoes growing, then effectively you want the eyes upwards and not damaged. And then you'll pop one there like that and just firm it in really well. And then your second one, pop opposite, and again just firm it in well. Okay, and then what we're going to do very carefully is place compost on top. Again, trying not to damage the growing stems. And then we just fill our bucket up. So we get all the compost in there and we fill it right to the top. Now some people might wait for stems to show and then put compost in and fill up gradually, but I've never ever done that. I've just filled the bucket to the top and then waited for stems to come through. And 2 potatoes in a bucket this size is all you'll need, folks. The more you put in, the more space that's used, the more competition you've got, and the less potatoes you'll actually get back as a crop. So as you can see, I'm just working this compost in, just giving a little bit of a firm down as we go, and then work up to the top. And if you're using an Ikea bag or a bag for life, exactly the same process, folks. It's just that you're using a different container, aren't you? Or a bucket, whatever you decide to do, you know. If you want to maximise your crops, make sure that your potatoes are chitted and you can cut them in half. And as long as you've got growing eyes on both sides of the potato, leave those for 24 hours to actually seal overnight, and then effectively you doubled your crop. So there you go, you can buy 3 or 4 seed potatoes and have 6 or 8 potato crops at the end of the day. Okay, so the final thing, well, the penultimate thing I should say, is to actually pop a label in. And just like if you're having a little baby, make a note on the calendar, because it's roughly 90 days after they've been popped into the pot that they actually will be coming out of the pot, and you'll have your first harvest of your very own potatoes. So we pop the label in, and then the very last thing we need to do, folks, is to give this a really good soak. So we've got a watering can, and remember you can use a watering can in 2 different ways. For a soft sort of rinse, you can have the rows upwards, but we want to be quite coarse and have a good downward soak. So roses downward on the watering can, and then we just give this a really damn good soak, look folks. So we let this soak in, and we want to pop about 3/4 of a can on there. Give it a really good soak and a really good activate. So as that soaks through, it'll get down to your potatoes, and you'll have forgotten about your potatoes when you see the first signs of growth, about a month to 5 or 6 weeks away. So there you have it. That's how to pop potatoes into containers if you've got limited space. There's no excuse for you not to grow a crop of potatoes if you've got a pot, a bucket, an Ikea bag, a bag for life, whatever. Okay, remember the rules are less space, basically more potatoes. So if you put more potatoes in, you're going to get less potatoes out, or they will actually be smaller. So there you go, guys. That's the next growing challenge for you to have a go at. Get your potatoes in the pot, get them growing. Tell us on air about how your potato crops are actually coming along. And next video along, we're going to do some plant propagation. So do tune in for that one in the next week or so. Keep gardening, guys. Keep subscribing. Click that bell to make you aware of new videos that come online. Well done, guys. Well done, guys, for getting through this time. It's been difficult for us all, okay? And thank you for the likes on the pruning hydrangea videos. People like hydrangeas, don't they? Keep gardening, guys. Keep gardening, folks. See you in the next video along.